We're about to head into our second game of the evening. Secret versus Into the Breach, a new organization joining us for Europe League. And we'll talk about this game. You know, both teams have made some roster changes. They haven't played each other in Stage 1, but both teams coming in with roster changes and Into the Breach, even a new org, there definitely has to be some expectations for them. I mean, Stage 1 didn't go as expected. Stage 2 needs to be better.
I think the one big thing that we've all said it backstage, and they've said it as well, Stage 2 for Into the Breach cannot go worse than what Stage 1.
Yep.
In reality, Stage 1, they didn't look like they were even going to win a half, let alone a game. You know, we saw teams do strat roulette against them, as G2 was so disrespectful, weren't they, Fabian? And they have made changes. They had to make changes. The Stage 2 changes look good on paper. Bringing in Azza, bringing in Yonka, bringing in Kangaroo Kenny as a coach seems to be a much more unified team. And I think everyone's just forgotten about Stage 1, reinvisit Into the Breach as a new team. It's almost kind of poetic they've got a new organization behind them.
They didn't look like a team whatsoever. I mean, they had a higher number in their name last stage and they got an amount of rounds. So hopefully the ITB doesn't mean into the bottom like last stage. I think that they will do a lot better than that, though. I mean, it's just a much more well-rounded team. Azzer coming in with the fragging ability, and I think Yonka is a very solid support. I mean, I remember watching him playing Hibana and just wrecking things up. So we have a much more well-rounded team with a actual support player playing support now that can help the other players that were underperforming previously. Because if we look at the players that they replaced, Gisela and Prano, they underperformed, but they weren't alone. It was also Kanto Raketti who underperformed massively to the level of player we know him to be. But it also Noir is coming in with the first stage and he was Titan level bad, and that says a lot. They should do better now with the dedicated support, and I believe that they will.
We talked about them having roster changes, obviously, but also a new, well, assistant coach or coach coming in. Yeah. Kangaroo Kenny, someone who has, you know, someone have been saying he deserves this opportunity. He needs to be in Tier 1. What is he going to bring to this team?
We've seen him cultivate teams throughout Tier 2 for probably the last 2.5 years of having the top English-speaking Tier 2 team, without a doubt. You know, there's been makers, there's been Dun Limited that have challenged them for whether they're the best or not. But Kenny's had a team that's been up there for 2.5 years, and that has been consistently the feeder team into EU League. You know, we've seen Jegs, we've seen Savage, we've seen all types of players make their way up. It's finally his time as a coach to get himself up. He understands the game, he understands players, and one thing about his team is he's always got his teams playing for each other. The collective, you know, going the extra mile for each other. So hopefully if you can bring that into the team, into ITB, then they can start, you know, progressing. Yeah,
there's not much more for me to add on that because you basically covered it all. There's one consistency. No matter what players he's had, they've always managed to take the the next step and go into UL. And, well, that consistency is Kenny.
And now he's doing it. He's stepping into UL, for example. Let's talk about their opponents as well. Secret, who themselves have had some roster changes too, bringing in maybe even more of this Brazilian influx.
They have... Jesus, my voice is not helping me right now. It must be the bread I ate. They have brought in 2 Brazilian players.
Sorry.
You just interrupted me here. 2 Brazilian players, and finally they can kind of adopt more of the Brazilian playstyle, I would say. They have them, I am assuming here, because I've actually not talked to them, they're going to play more supportive roles, and they're going to be backing up the front trio of Savage, Groovy, and Upor. And if we look at them as a team, they are also much more well-rounded. That's like the thing we keep coming back to with the rosters for this stage. Yep. They all keep adding new players, but it's not that they just add new players that are great with their guns. The players make sense in the operator pool, they make sense in the mentality, and just the play style they want to bring.
It's worth noting that the 2 players that they brought in, Falls and Miracle, weren't known for being that traditional LATAM style of in-your-face, super aggressive. You think about Brazil, you think about Nesk, you think about Parla, you think about some of, you know, KZ, JV, some of those kind of players. These 2 players don't necessarily fit into that style. They'll bring the understanding with them, but they'll, you know, potentially be able to apply it into the European game and play a little bit slower. They were both kind of flex players on the attack, smoke mains on the, you know, on the defense. So I think what Fabian said holds true is that it's much more well-rounded, it's much more balanced, and it actually makes a lot of sense for this team.
The thing with Brazilian supports that we don't have with European supports, especially European supports coming from the second tier of the scene, is they don't understand the current main meta. And these support players coming from Brazil, they will understand that just as a support player, that doesn't mean I stay back. That means that I can still follow up and find these gaps that the front is creating. And that's what I think is the biggest difference between Brazilian and European supports. And Secret have picked up 2 Brazilians. So now they actually will have, yeah, again, well-rounded team.
I think for Secret, stage 1 was pretty decent as well, though eventually they went to lose in the LCQ against 2 of the eventual major attendees. Is it a realistic perspective that they will eventually make it to a major now with these changes?
I think when you look at Secret's group, you know, we're going to come back to this. The group for Group A is absolutely achievable for Team Secret in terms of, you know, getting themselves out of it and into deciders. They did it in stage 1 with a much tougher group. So I think Secret could absolutely do it. In terms of attending the major, you know, I feel like the opposition they'll come up against in Group B is absolutely stacked. So I think a realistic expectation for Secret is probably to have a deep run in the deciders and a deep run in LCQs. Maybe nick it if they can, but I wouldn't expect to see them in Atlanta.
And also, who knows? I mean, it's 3 new players, even if Fuper was their sub. It's 3 new players. We cannot judge it just yet. We'll have to see them on the server. I think today will be a good guideline for what can we expect. And then from there on, we'll build that story and see how they do.
Let's see where this guideline exactly will take place, as we are ready to get into our map bend phase to see where this game will take us to. Once again, we will have a Skyscraper game where Secret will start on the attack. Another Skyscraper. I was hoping to see maybe a concert or a Nighthaven Labs, but that's not happening right now.
It was so close as well, wasn't it? Clearly, I think the big thing to see is Nighthaven Labs was the final ban. And what that means is actually for both of these teams who last stage and historically have had very limited map pools, you can see straight away, both of these teams were prepared to go to Nighthaven Labs, Secret choosing to ban it out and go to Skyscraper. Now, quick point on that. Secret love Skyscraper through their 6th Invitational run, through stage 1. It's a map that has become quite a stalwart map for them. They've enjoyed going to it. Similar story with them, as there is every team on Skyscraper. Very good at defending it, and they struggle with their attacks. For ITB, when they were TT9, Skyscraper was one of their permabans. They didn't play it. They didn't want to go there in best of ones. So I think, you know, what you summarize for that is they've gone away, they've worked on it, they've brought it into their map pool.
I actually have a little bit of a counterpoint here, Jack, because if they ban Nighthaven last, that could also mean that they expected ITB to ban it as their last ban. And then when ITB doesn't, Secret don't have it available in their map pool just yet, and therefore they were forced to banning it, which puts ITB in a position where they got exactly the map that they wanted, even if there was the permaban last stage, because this stage, we have no idea what they've come up with.
We do know how good Kangaroo Cannon tends to be with map bend situations, but let's talk about Into the Breach, right? They didn't really perform as expected in stage 1. Is there the possibility for a team like Secret or any other team to underestimate them?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of need to underestimate them because they played that bad. I mean, me and Fresh with the rank stack would have beaten them almost. And you will underestimate them, but at the same time, they are a professional team and they put in the hours and the practice. So whilst I say here that we will beat them, we probably would not even get close, but you still need to show up on game day and perform. They just did not do that whatsoever, and they didn't look like a team.
Yeah, I mean, having spoke to them, they know what happened stage 1. You know, there's no beating around the bush. I think when you've been that bad in a stage, you've just got to own it. And when I've spoken to the players that are still there, they're owning it. They know that stage 1 was horrendous. Their words, as I said, it can't get worse than stage 1. Their expectations for stage 2 is generally to be putting in good performances. They want to see this team grow. They want to see this team build into next year and beyond, I think, is more of a long-term view for this team. You know, they might walk away with 0 wins again in the groups if they did that. However, they want to be putting in more rounds. They want to be competitive. They want to be in with a chance of winning, which isn't how stage 1 looked at all.
You want to at least look good losing, right? But we don't know. We have no idea. But at least the performance you put in, it needs to show differently.
It's a lot of question marks indeed, but what is the one thing in comparison to last stage that you want to see improve today coming from Into the Breach to actually be able to put up that performance today?
I'm going to have to go there, and I'm just going to say it from the heart. I think their entry has got to improve. I think Noah came in stage 1, and, you know, I can quote statistics, but the top and the bottom of it is he was the worst entry in the league and he was the worst rated player in the league. And I think when you're playing such a pivotal role for the team, to set the team up, to give the team space, you've got to be better. Now, whether that's changing him off that role, maybe making Kanto or Azza, you know, one of the more primary entries, or finding a way to enable him, it's got to happen because that entry success has got to go up. You can't be going so far negative when you're playing Ayana every single round. And I'm willing to stand here and be the guy that writes off stage 1 for him. Stage 1, difficult stage. Get into stage 2, clean slate, and see how he does.
I'll actually move that question around. Is there one thing that can stay the same? And that answer is literally no. They cannot do anything the same way they did last stage. Because if they do, they are in troubles again. And even though you change players, there can be this one problem that keeps reoccurring, and that will mentally just destroy you. Even if it's just the first game, second game, mentally you don't want to be broken.
Okay, so a lot has to change. I see. Really quickly before we get into the game, because the map is ready, predictions for this game?
That being said, I've got a sneaky feeling about ITB that they will surprise us performance-wise, but I made my prediction this morning that I thought it'd be Secret. Seeing the maps, I also still think it will be Team Secret to win.
And with the map bans, I'm putting it on ITB. They're going to win it 7-4. We'll be a bit kind to them.
Okay, all right. It is Secret versus Into the Breach. Skyscraper again, but also Hap and Fluke again. Take it away.
Thank you very much, and yes, it's us, Hap and Fluke. Where are we? In your walls, ready to cast some siege.
Please break us out.
No.
Oh wait, actually don't know. We're not liable for any damages to the wall you do.
Yeah, it's your walls.
Yeah.
It's your walls. We're skittering about, and where are we skittering? Oh, you know, back into a showdown here on Skyscraper.
It's like we never left.
Like we never left. We've just ushered out those previous 2 teams, that cleanup crew that comes between Rainbow Six rounds, that rebuilds everything. They've done it. They've got everything put back together, and I guess we'll see if someone else can start tearing it apart. There is our rosters, our players, and as we sort of alluded to, as they pointed out on the desk, there have been big changes for kind of both these rosters, so this is going to be a bit of a fresh brawl for us.
There has been, yes. Secret is leaning into the Brazilian supremacy with adding in their 2 new players. And ITB, they've kind of gone for a rewrite of their story as well, only winning 8 rounds over the previous stage. They'll be looking to improve on that. They cannot do that. Well, actually, they can technically even out today if there becomes an 8-7. Of course, I guess they prefer to just take a full 3-point victory at that point.
Yeah, I mean...
Who wouldn't, right? So.
I think they would. I think you would want more than that total amount of rounds as well. There was, as we expect, a bit of a spicy fire line from Fabian on the desk if they got less rounds than the number in their name in the last split when they were under a different org. So fresh paint, fresh coat of paint, fresh team, fresh rosters, fresh ideas. They've had time. That's that sort of trade-off and the benefit of the off-season is, yeah, teams have participated in things during the off-season, but you have more of this go back to the drawing board opportunities. You have, before it used to be, you know, you sort of get off the back of a major if you played it, and then 2 weeks later you're starting the league up again. There wasn't a huge time for adaptation and recreation behind it. So what do we get? Playcams.
There's going to be a lot more opportunity indeed to reinvent yourselves, and that's really what we hope. Steady, home. Beautiful. Just,
see, you weren't looking at the program feed though,
no,
were you?
I'm not.
Because that was just player cams.
I'm on the
so
clean feed.
You were just staring at the player cams, and you were like, steady.
No, I was looking at Medics trying to set up his.
Okay, yeah, this is Medics having a drift, having a float.
It's free cam.
In the eyes of a lot of people, yeah, very cool. It's going to be very fun. I like the response of fantastic Siege Creator KSX was. Well, how am I going to see the setups now? With difficulty, my friend. With difficulty.
This is how they're being shown. Medics is just going buy every reinforcement he can find.
Start slipping some bribes towards Medics content creators if you want to see certain things. No, don't. None of that. None of that. What we do have, as we said, back here, back on a map, and this time with the sort of bans, the removal there. You know, Fresh alluded to the power creep at the start of the Day of Defenders. Solace gone, I think, is a big step because they are very problematic on a lot of maps, and I think just part of that sort of power play. When you look at people like Valkyrie being let through now as a sort of solidity, it really shows just how sort of good that generic level of defender is right now.
I mean, that's it, right? There's a lot of good defenders right now. There's a lot of good options you can ban to, and there's still like 4 that could be proving a problem on your defense, on your attack there. So really going to be thinking this through properly. What I do like, though, from Secret is that we're already seeing a bit more of a formulated attack compared to what we've seen in the previous round, especially on this first side. Instantly, the backstairs are being taken under control as quickly as they can. Breaches are being made. Drones are being rolled through. They're already at the front doors right here, looking to find themselves a way into the bomb site to get a plant down.
Look at that sweeping motion there. Falls pushes all the way in, is able to deploy the Talon shield. There were some impact potential, but Falls are just going for the plant. They stop the shield, they drop the player and get the kit cold. They're holding on, and there wasn't quite anybody to offer some support. As you can tell, the outlines are a little bit fun and funky right now, but that is an attacker on the window on the split. Upor is looking for the fight and the ping on the back end player. Miracle wants to get in with the shake, and I don't believe that is an attacker. That's inside Karaoke, but that is a bit of destruction on the back end. Sorry, on Geisha, I meant. Noah still has the cross angle. They have a minute. They have themselves this 3 versus 3, but with the kit cold and they know exactly where it is, it becomes such a standoff down that corridor.
I can now see why Monty was banned, of course, because if Monty was available, that might have been the operator choice rather than the OSA for that specific plant. Now, with that cold, indeed, there is some work that needs to be done, and that is currently being set up in the form of a bit of a flank. It's the Ace player that has just spotted out the Melusi out there, unable to connect fully, though, as Noah is still alive and able to fall back just ever so slightly.
Poor tucks around the corner, gets the strike on the back. Miracle wants to find this fight onto this power position shield, and as I said, it's Yonka. Now just holding out just on top of the stairs, waiting for the approach. Kendrew has been able to slip their way maybe onto the back of Gold here, but it seems like Upor is a bit aware of the motions that are being made. They've got the kit back. They're going to pull out the Legion mine, but the Legions being the mine themselves, it's Groovy and Miracle get the final 2 kills.
Very solid first attack from Secret there. They had a good plan, they went with it, and they stuck it through, even though it kind of failed, you know? The plant was looking to be attempted right behind the Talon shield, it got destroyed, so did the player right behind it. But they went for it still. They flanked around, they moved around, they knew there was a lot of free space they could utilize there, so they used that to their advantage. And we instantly see an attack success. It took a long while before we saw that happen in the previous game of Skyscraper, so we might just have a completely different kind of game upon our hands here.
It was swift from Secret, and I think that's one of the sort of things here is we wanted to get that taste of Brazil. We wanted the taste of a region that is terrifying, and at the minute, and have been before, obviously recent victors. And you're looking at obviously a coach that's come in a bit before from the region that's had great success, now getting a couple more players over from there, and they're sort of, it's like when a football manager, you know, they get into a team and yeah, there's some talent there, but when they start to bring in some of the talent that they've had their eye on maybe with an idea, you'll get the bigger picture, you'll get the plays, you'll get tiki-taka football, but with guns, and we're getting a little bit of that now.
What a great analogy. Football with guns. It's not quite sure if that's exactly, oh, we get Siege at that point. Fuser being the football, I guess.
I wouldn't kick it. Look, one of the diffusers has a red outline, one of them has a blue outline. It's the attacker diffuser and the defender diffuser.
Yeah.
I'll land you a little bit AWOL right now, okay?
Also, you guys didn't see it, but in the custom lobbies, there's now a new feature called Shuffle. I kind of want the observer to press that right before we start.
Wait, really? There's that?
Yes, there's a shuffle option now.
That would be... They should do that just before a show match.
Oh yeah, that's great. Anyway, breaches are being made right here, so Secret again working on opening up those walls that are important for the eventual take. And I believe an impact was instantly tossed in afterwards to stop the Selma from opening up more than it was supposed to, though. Scrooby's finding himself a way into Geisha, finding himself with some pressure upon the defenders very soon.
You can see the sort of approach is get in, get hot, and get violent. I really enjoy that from the side of Secret. They're making sure that there's always sort of steps inside the building. They've got the pinch here onto Yonka, who might be under a bit of pressure from just behind him. as well. He's sort of keenly aware of the window and he doesn't want to get caught falling back. But Kendrew, oh, unfortunately for him, that's just put a bit of a reveal in. The pings come across the board. They know that there's Upor on one side, there's Groovy on the other. Where's the swing going to come from? There it is. Falls actually makes the first move. Noah has a bit of response and Groovy gets a bit of a rotate to see if they can try and get some end of that. Nobody is home. Kendrew is still happy to sit here a bit longer, waste time, because look at the time. Swings for the fight. Groovy ducks and takes the head off.
Yeah, they knew he was still going to be in there and needed to deal with him sooner rather than later. So just go for the swing at that point, neutralize the threat, and allow yourself to take the space you need to push on towards the side. A pre-fire from Kento, not quite connecting. Falls back slightly behind the shield. This is being pushed by Diana.
Grenade bounces around the corner. The spray comes against it. Kanto's able to find Groovy. Ducks underneath the grenade, but cannot quite get a second on the back. Suddenly, they've lost some more control, but they've taken a lot of damage, a lot of fights in their journey to get here. Savage and Newport sit on about half health. They've utilized some of their pocket growth, and at this point, no grenades and more just the drive behind the guns and maybe some of that Zephyr. Can they get a final pinch? Miracle now as well. Joins them quite low, but wins out the engagement, importantly, leaving Azza. Pickups get the first. They just drop down. They're not entirely locked out. There's the second. Can't quite get the full connection there.
Great stuff by Secret there. They didn't quite know where he was, and as soon as the first engagement happened, everybody left alive. Well, basically the two players left alive, aiming towards that position, looking to take him down, and instantly taking the space that they realized was going to be clear. And it's also 2 in a row. To barbecue in the kitchen we go. Rotation gets continued by ITB. Still looking for that first, and that first round was very close. They could have just as well taken that. The second one, if 1 or 2 gunfights went the other way, it would have been their round as well. So they're definitely competitive in these rounds. It's just that Secret so aggressive, just taking the space that they feel is theirs, that they cannot quite deal with fully.
Lesion. I'm setting you up here, so prepare yourself emotionally. You prepared?
I'm prepared.
Okay, Legion has had some changes, haven't they, Hap?
Yeah, so the goo mines have again been buffed.
I'm giving you the pedestal.
Yeah, so I've seen some actual good tricks with it happen as well, where they put them on the back of some LMIs. Not that we're going to be seeing those happen right now, but the damage is back. The super shorty is there on Legion. It's just a bunch of like nice little extras. Also, I believe that the poison timer has been decreased, so you take damage even quicker now, making it a bit more of a pain to deal with if you step into that goo mine, to really make sure that you're trying to take out as many of them as you can as quickly as possible.
Yeah, Legion has, as you pointed out there, generally had an across-the-board thing. There will be quicker refill timers as well. You get them quicker, they do more damage, they do damage faster, and they also can't be hacked anymore. But, oh, in someone's face, there it is. Kanto swings the corner, removes Groovy quite early on as a sort of compliment to them in the past couple of rounds. They've been very quick to get in and find a fight. But this time, Kanto is happy to find them, step themselves back up. ITB, they want to make sure that they are seeing a breach and well, living up to their name and charging back into it.
It's good that they instantly try and reply, because Groovy, he might have tried to go in a bit quick there. We just praised that aggression. Aggressive definitely out there. Upor jumping out, knowing someone seems to be around the back stairs. There's some pings coming through. It's a pre-fire. Not quite able to get the full connection onto Noah through the softball there, so steps out just in time.
Oh, do they know about Azza? You can see that they're being cautious of the swing round. Noah goes down. The aforementioned Legion, we bigged up about their sort of buffs, is they're knocked right down. There is a shoulder of damage from that DMR just on the swing of the stairs. Terrifying gun, falls now, gets himself to half health. Yonkard suffers on the back end. Miracle's trying to just apply some extra pressure and make sure they can lock out a fight here, but it's Kanto still on the stairs, blocking it. And there's Kanto for his third of the round. Stems the flood that was attempted onto the site there. Falls though, finishes off Noah and brings us into a 2 versus 2. Now they do have a bit of vertical control, and look at the Valkyrie on the back end. They're just tucked. Bit of an awkward situation here. Falls is going to roll down a drone as his teammate comes to support him. They are unaware of Kanto. And that might prove deadly. Kanto's playing the late game, gets the quad. One more for the ace. Isn't going to go directly towards it. Falls is looking for the player. Yonker is obviously still down below as well. There's a couple of openings and forces the kit itself, but there's not really a gadget he can properly drive himself in outside of this. Taking the flash, taking the drops, going for the swing and the pressure. Kanto, will you have all 5? Yes, you will. The first ace of EUL, phase 2, and it is in the pockets of a very prolific player.
Well deserved by Kanto, played that exceptionally well, but you start thinking back a bit to Secret. How did you manage to give away that 4th kill out there? Like, they knew he was around on the staircase there, just rotating around freely, not really checking your corners out there, and Kanto just being in the right position at the right time, and with that deadly accuracy he has, just shutting them down one by one, eventually getting that ace. Still going for the timeout though, as it wasn't quite going as expected that round, I would imagine. You win the round, but it's on the back of an ace, so that means that the team has failed in some aspects of that round. You rather want to stem that quickly. Also, you know, going back to a site you have lost so far, so a chat is always very helpful to have at that point to see exactly what went wrong and what you can change. Make sure that round is going into your advantage next round.
I mean, you've got to also obviously take things into consideration by it was an ace that drove around. It was a single player having an exceptional round. And yeah, it wasn't like they sort of pulled out the clutch, but when the swing came across for Secret, they're still able to take a couple of bodies from ITB's defense. They're still able to push some of these players out. Kanto was in that crossfire position on those stairs, gets that cross-section cut all the way towards black stairs from the main stairs, and then suddenly it's a bit more of a balanced round. But you cannot really rely on that. You still have to have that topic of, well, how did this happen? How did they get into this position?
As I said, like you failed as a team to some extent, where the individual succeeded and still got you the round out there. So there is always something to talk about when things like that happen. Nothing to take away from the ace from Kanto there. By the way, exceptionally played. Got himself in the right position, right time. Like, basically utilized each and every single mistake that was being made by Secret in that round. All starting off with being in the right place to quickly stop the entry from Gruby. But they still managed to give it away at some other spots, and luckily Kanto was there to save that round.
Yeah, you can never take away from an ace. An ace is earned, and it was a decent spread across the whole round. When you get the opening frag on your sort of ace unchallenged quite early. It was around the 2 minutes 20 mark still left.
Yeah.
Shows that you're having a very solid performance, and they earned that here, though. No early bites so far. Yonker might find himself surrounded sooner rather than later. There looked like there was one blue outline of an attacker not too far away on Shrine, but they do have the support structure there, actually. Cooper hops in over onto the swing. They're just trying to get around. Noah sprays through, does a little bit of damage. There's Yonker fighting on the VIP stairs. They're sort of making statements of not letting them enter clean. Noah's surrounded steadily. The blinds come through. Kanto finds Falls, though, across the swing of the fight, and there's the pre-fire that at least gets one back. A traded out engagement was something they couldn't quite manage on the first kill last time. Yonker, how long will you last? Blinded, dips down the VIP stairs and maybe finds himself in some safety. No, suddenly pops up and drops Upor. In the mean engagement, he's still getting flashed, still getting blinded, and still somehow able to get out of there for all the utility sent in. Now they only have one grenade and one claymore left.
It's been a very scrappy fight in the start of the round out there. Eventually ITB came out on top of that one. Some small breaches still being made, however, and you know, in the meantime the defense is also getting themselves ready with some extra super shorty shots to come through, preparing some of these angle holes. Savage moving through. Kanto back on the staircase again, where he just managed to get the majority of his ace in the last round. Now ITB, all they need to do is just basically wait it out for a minute. Play on contact of each other. Make sure they do not have the opportunity to pick you off clean without anybody being there to reply to you. Oh.
Yeah, Kanto getting a second there on the swing. Savage is hoping to pick up a body on the back of it, but I mean, it's a 4 versus 2. You've thrown everything at this fight, and you've got yourself up towards gold wall, but there's Yonker through the soft. The pickup, it's a little bit cheeky, and it gets you a bit closer to the fight. But this is the impossible moment. The fact that they've had gold soft means that they were kind of happy to play this with a foot slightly further back. Savage with the drop rotate isn't read by Kanto. They're able to suddenly put it into a 2 versus 2. 20 seconds is the big worry. Groovy does have the kit, but it's an awkward way to get an approach. Kendrew removes the shield because he knows they've lost main stairs and they cannot give that utility to the team ahead of them. Instead, they tuck in and find a player tucked out. And now with just Groovy left, 2 versus 1. Time's not on his favor. 1 versus 1. He knows where the player is. He goes for the pre-fire, but so does Kendrew.
And that means the round is going to ITB, getting themselves a second in a row, but it got very close out there in the end. Again, half an extra second, could have gone the other way, possibly. They managed to bring it back. On the back of their tactical timeout as well, they managed to instantly find themselves a bit of success, even though the trades of Secret were on point for the first start of that round. The scrappy engagement around the house area definitely did not help. Just fights being taken out of every single window, struggling to get the first initial pick or even the first initial meters inside that building. That really cost them later on the side of Secret. I hope that was going to be a bit more free to some extent, like not having to pay for it with as much HP as they did, as much utility as they did. It basically just gets you in a deficit later on in the round.
From this point onwards, yeah, now we have a fight. We have a bit of a brawl, and, you know, it was something that was sort of mentioned, alluded to, based on the performance of a rough amount of what was ITB's roster in Phase 1. They only had one game of the ones that they played, of the 4 that they played, where they got more than one round.
Yeah, wasn't great, right? They had the 7 victories in 7 rounds in one game where they get a point, and then 1 round in any of the other games
in the
played.
other 3 games.
Yeah, so it's not great.
It shows that they've been able to take some time. Obviously, they took a timeout quite early on. They made sure that they could try and keep themselves a bit level. You're starting on your defense here. Skyscraper is a map where you should generally be leading on your defense. They've been able to piece some of that energy back together. There's an unfortunate blow. Remember, Kanto's had some big impact rounds. He got a kill from that position last time around. This time he won't quite have the confidence to hold it as long.
That's it. Last time around, that shield was still up. He had the opportunity to go for a bit of a fight. Got himself a kill before the shield was taken out, and fell shortly afterwards. But basically just condemning yourself, playing there without any of the protective measures that were there before. Kirby now finds himself into Geisha. Basically, the entire top floor is already being cut up by the side of Secret, but Junker, playing on the top of the stairs, comes up, gets a free kill.
Ruby now trying to find just a dip and a bit of safety, but also wants to keep pushing on as Junker gets caught out on the back by Savage, waiting for exactly that. The hands are ready to clasp. Any player that got a bit close. Now find a little bit of silence, a little bit of a lull in the 4 versus 4, a body apiece. It's players that you can kind of trade out here. Yupa, obviously, with those forest mines is something you wanted a little bit longer, but as this gets popped open, a great use of the free cam. Reveal the opened wall there as well at the same side of it.
Impact being used out there to eventually remove it as well. Might be a bit extreme. You open up a bigger hole than it would have been on the other end of it. See how that plays out in the end. The Savage almost loses his life. Just quickly checking the main staircase there, hoping to confirm it was clear, which of course it wasn't, as Azar instantly fighting back, putting some rounds his way.
Oh, they have the ping on a man that's not quite as secret as he was, but it's not as easy as just knowing where somebody is in this game. Yeah, it's Kanto through the legs of the dragon with, you know, that 1.5 on that mustachioed Maverick that isn't Maverick. Grenade does a lot of damage to Noah, just doesn't get the end of it. This one probably will.
Will it?
It doesn't get loosed. Instead, we get a great shot of Miracle taking care of Kendrew on the back end. The swing of the C4 does find a fight. The ring around the Rosies. They don't know where each other's gone, but somehow Falls wins it out. But with 5 seconds, they got to do more than just that. The players are behind them. Azza gets the lockdown on VIP stairs.
Bit of an ambush coming through there. As they took the side, and instantly there was a person right behind them, shutting them down as they went in. ITB to take the lead here on the first half, finding themselves 2-3 up. Fabian actually expected them to win this on the back of the map bans that came through. 7-4 victory is what he predicted.
He did. He did.
Let's see how close to truth he will be at that point. But it's the barbecue kitchen to come up as the final site they will defend for now, unless we do head to overtime, because then they get 1 or 2 more opportunities to defend themselves.
They do, and, you know, if we're going to reference what was this roster once upon a time in the first half, the game that they did get 7 rounds in, it was even half. So if they're able to get this, the 4th round, in sort of tier 1, route through to the major NSI competition, it will be the first time that they've been able to lead a half at the end of the half. All year. In this year of Siege, not
I've said it, that it's like it is time to shine. Like, it's showtime for them, because everybody's looking cynical towards ITB after their performance under the previous organization, of course, in stage 1. And everybody's going to be looking towards them, like, show that you belong here, right? Like, show that you have what it takes. Give us that fight.
And I'm glad to see them sort of stepping up. Hey, look, there's a Valcam.
This is what I love Freecam most for, that we could just finally view Valkyrie cameras, because we never were able to.
We're really getting the artistic direction from our observers now. They can really, like, frame shots. Just call him, you know, Medic Scorsese from now on, you know.
The Croatian sensation.
Croatian sensation. The eyes on the prize, and the prize might be ITB getting the lead, as I said, on a half, something that they just could not muster in, at points can get close to in the first phase, and it puts them in such a good position to try and drive the rest of this map home. Secret, obviously, they've had some big changes. They have themselves, I believe it was referenced, living in a team house, and that could be something that helps drive the energy. Savage finds Noah.
Urko got a bit of a hunt as well, as Jonka has been spotted out. Finds himself behind a sushi bar, but still could be prone to be taken out quickly, as Upor does take down Kento. Azur now active around on the back stairs as well, trying to provide some support to Jonka. So making sure no one is going to get through those staircases, as Groovy taking a lot of damage from the DMR out there.
Oh, Kendrew gets the quick response. Upor goes down. Groovy has taken, as he said, a huge amount of damage, but still standing is always the important part. Behind the drum with Savage getting the grenade kill. Suddenly this is a double down body balance. Not getting the lock onto the kill onto Savage. Does find it the second time round, but Miracle is there to make sure they can't get very far. It just leaves Kendrew alone. He's caught out on a drone with a bit of audio. Doesn't even get the drop down. Miracle was waiting this time round. 3 apiece, 3 on the half each. Pretty good for the attackers, especially them getting that last round before they go to their defense.
Yeah, we have to be honest with that, of course. Like, it is a defense-sided map overall. Usually, teams prefer to play the defense as well. So Secret getting those 3 rounds is going to be huge for them. It's going to be doing a lot of weightlifting here for this second half. And ITB now have to show that they have the cohesion needed to win attack rounds as well. So that's usually what we look at here for the attack. You need to come together for, you know, a coherent plan. On the defense, it's a bit easier to have the solo hero plays to come through, as people will have to come to you. Now you have to come to them. Walk through their traps, walk through the maze, whilst being successful.
Secret. Let's see if the secret is held here on the second half. We haven't really had a lot of Fenrir in this game so far. Obviously an instant pickup there from Miracle. From the comparison of in the first game, we had both teams sort of fully stretch their legs. It wasn't something that ITB really wanted to dabble in, which I guess is that sort of trade-off here. No Ram is to be expected. I think if you're on Chalet, if you're on, you know, some of the sites across, maybe Bank, some of the sites across, maybe Club, we'll get some good Ram action, but
it's not really a great map for Ram.
No.
It's a bit of a lack of flooring that you can destroy, really, and basically a lack of amount of floors as well they can use it for. I don't think we'll see it much.
Yeah, I think the top 2 maps you'll generally see it in are site-specific. One of them is sort of chalet sites. One of them is cafe. But Miracle finds no. Miracle gets the early take there, and well, rebuild the window. Why not? You've hopped out. You've taken care of the Dockerby. It's a great gun. Strong utility gun. Or you can even start to make calls.
Now back to Fenrir, because we're playing on the top floor side, of course, karaoke, and we usually describe this map as being divided, especially in the top floor. There's a giant white wall basically cutting the house area and the T area in middle, and that means there's going to be 2 choke points that they usually will have to go through as attackers, and putting up the Fenrir devices out there is definitely going to be making it more difficult for attackers to push through. You saw it at this specific door in that last round. So much utility used, and still they weren't able to move in, and when they finally did, they got feared and instantly taken down. So this one especially is going to be very powerful if you are unable to take down the Fenrir device.
Very long angle there being played as a sort of response to anyone that tries to get close. We saw that actually is a bit of a round-winning angle played by Blur in their on G2 before. It just stops them on the approach across drum. Falls in the meantime. He's sort of dipping and diving either side, expecting where ITB might be expecting a fight on. Ruby's offering some shoulder of support so they can't just scream their way in, but here the break onto the wall, the destruction going a bit low. Falls cannot stick around too deep now, and that means that some of that swing has been pulled away from them.
I'll have to move out slightly indeed. Cannot stick around because the pressure will be too big, but he might be trying to go for a bit of a revisit later on, or at least try and make sure and give a phantom idea of being pressured inside a geisha, make sure that the attack is not really going to be able to move. That caught me off there, the 2 different outlines going through. I thought he was sneaking up on him, but it was an attacker as well at that point. And Kanto now trying to move in, is going to be seeing the player out there on the double door, unable to connect.
So that's a player inside of Fenrir mine. There's Groovy and Kanto getting 1 each across opposing sides and halves. They lose that lead on, and you can see the mine has been removed since that position, whether the player got killed in it or not. The C4 doesn't get the full kill onto Yonka, who's actually able to win out the fight against Savage in the mean second. But look, they're trying to batter their way through onto the site because there's only 5 seconds left. The plant is going down. They've missed the player going for it on the swing.
Oh no!
I mean,
that was very visible, just not looking in that direction. I think the head was sticking out clearly out there.
That might have been a round win if he'd been able to get that kill.
Probably would have been, because the round would have counted out of time. It was only like 3, maybe 2 seconds left on the clock at that point. You had the opportunity to dig yourself in a little bit more. That's a very rough round loss there, but ITB able to just carry it across the finish line.
And we're sounding a little bit confused because obviously the outline thing, you know, you run it through your mind and you're thinking of who actually was on what team, but, you know, the lineup there, the position, if they'd have hit that impact, you expect, and as the motion expected, he believed that they were planting behind the actual karaoke machine around on the little half wall.
Yeah.
Which is why they were making the motion, and you've started that, you're locked in, things are falling apart, and there's only a couple of seconds left, but oh, that's gonna be a tough one. When that adrenaline winds down and you're like, wait a second.
That could have been a bit of tunnel vision, right? Like, you expect him to be there, so you're going to be focusing on the middle of your screen, on that crosshair. Whatever is in the peripheral view, you're not just going to be noticing it as clearly as you would under less intense situations. But it is the difference between a round win and loss, and ITB now taking that lead on the attack, first round on the board right away. That's great for them. Something they need. Not really had the opportunity too much. So let's see if they can build on this. Glass being on the board. Yonka ready with the exothermic to open up. They have some pings for players downstairs. Instantly the pre-fire coming through. A Miracle knows he's been spotted and tries to rotate out, as they're having a missed opportunity for a free opening kill there.
I'm curious to see when the sends will get dropped. Obviously, you're rolling that light wall alongside the idea of the glass. This is very much a pocket play, and with Yonka not too far away with the kit, I'm wondering if they're just going to try something a little bit sneaky, snatch and grab. You will have the hurdles. Miracle is there, not too far away. You've got the mirror with a bit of a long watch and the chance to see fours. Noah's keeping themselves a bit stretched and spread out. You assume that drum player and the one away in kitchen, people operating against them as it hops in, takes the G mine and hops back out. That might make that kitchen, that player on the swing, a little bit more cautious of taking it, focus elsewhere, because there's also only a minute 30 left in the round. It gets picked back up. The light wall starts its roll all the way across. They looked like they wanted to throw one more for a second, but nothing comes through. Falls is watching and waiting. kind of hoping somebody moved in behind it. Yonka goes for the rotate onto the soft. Remember, they've got the kit, and they're the only one over there currently. So if Falls gets something cheeky here, it's over. Savage, in the meantime, gets nowhere. There's the Glaz looking for anyone else that might be, but Kanto pops up and falls right back down before being dropped themselves. They're trying to get the coverage inside the smoke itself. They can get that player back up. But now they lose Kanto. Now they lose that man advantage. And now, how do you try and drive yourself behind it? Do you double down on the back of it? You've still got the Glaz, you've still got some chance at the smoke, but you lose where Sense was onto the opposite side of the site. It becomes an entirely one-sided push.
Kanto actually got dropped by the goo mine out there. Savage is looking to go for a bit of an aggressive swing around, but gets picked up himself. Instead, wrong timing. Miracle almost loses his life as well as it goes for the repeat. Actually gets the kill with the shotgun. A 2-on-2, and he gets another one on the staircase out there. Yonka now alone in a 1v2. Now he knows where one of them is. With that shotgun, it's going to be very difficult for him to engage that on close range, so he needs to get himself some distance, but he gets shot from the back, and Gruby will find a kill and the round for Secret, pushing us to equal numbers here.
So, if you're unaware, shotguns. They've gone through a little bit of a change up. It was a big change up, and then I think that the second patch. So when patch day came around, and there was super strong shotguns that people found in the TTS, and it was all of them, and they had headshot multipliers. The range was specific. Yeah, they were broken. And then a lot of them then got pulled back down. But I mean, that was just clean as anything. The first take, the first kill, the confidence to lean into that fight before this patch. It would have been an SMG for the first fight, which would have made swinging on the secondary shotgun the second one. You can take a fight with the distance with that shotgun now, which is a bit spooky.
I believe in the patch, when they discussed it, they said, we're going to make other shotguns feel like the SAS shotgun. Because that's the one who often gets used, of course, due to the prevalence of mute and smoke being out there. But all the shotguns just being buffed. I'm kind of afraid, considering that every shotgun is being treated as the SAS shotgun right now to some extent. Because back then we said, if you trust enough, you'll get every kill you want with that shotgun, no matter the range.
Now you don't need to trust. Now you know, and it was across every shotgun. We saw that. Oh, look at this fight. Oh, that was Kanto picking it up. Good spot there. Red like is our observed. Great catch there, and again, although they were outlined, they were opponents. Now with that early foot in with the goo mines off the board early and the gun of Savage, it's a little bit of a blow because, as we said, Legion's had a bit of a buff. He's had a bit of a power up. Not if he's dead.
No, it kind of defeats the whole point of Legion, you know, having quicker recharge times on the goo mines. Not recharging them if you're dead. Or at least you cannot deploy them if you're dead. So you kind of want to make sure you get the most out of that gadget, and taking an entry fight like that, well, that might not really work out fully. Either way. This is the entry there for ITB. It's Gruby now trying to rotate around a little bit, trying to see if he can get something sneaky done for a bit of a flank, but I believe he might be watched here, and actually with that drone coming up as well, should be spotted out. They have it, a shoulder being seen, and now they know Gruby's out and about somewhere up on that top floor in the house area.
They can isolate themselves a fight here if they can remove one more player and put themselves into, you know, a 5 versus 3 in best case. But either way, the 4 versus 3 with one more gone, it could be quite huge. Miracle wants to lean into this fight and be like a surprise factor on a window that they think's already checked. Double down and clear, but Kendra isn't quite going to fall for that this early. Instead, they actually rotate towards the other window. They're tucked a bit safe, but as the timer keeps on ticking, we've seen late rounds almost be pulled back by the defense. You don't want to find yourself in that situation once again, ITB, because to be honest, a little bit lucky that first round.
For sure, but they've been looking quite a lot more competitive than they have in stage 1.
Oh.
Just getting a beautiful shot there for Kanto, finding themselves with yet another person in their advantage, and now looking to find themselves from a bit of a vertical position from down below. There's not much they can do there with the current operators. They need to go for a push, and Miracle will get Kendrew.
Yeah, Miracle gets the take there onto Kendrew, swings around, is about to have another gift potentially on this rappel. Heard the audio, just misses the motion. No, Kanto! Removed and deleted there by Miracle, who had the first swing, has done huge bits to pull them back into this fight. Gets set on fire himself a little bit there, and in the heat of it has to move away, pick up and rotate elsewhere underneath. All 3 players here onto the single back black stairs as they're trying to scream through. Groovy gets one, can't find the second. They're on the soft wall of gold, a 1 versus 1 with only 5 seconds left. They do not have the diffuser. They hope that they can find the fight. There it is. Picked up, going for the plant and the hold. It'll just take Miracle to pop around this corner and pop the player's head off.
Plenty of time there for Miracle to get themselves in the right position. Knew that the plant was going through, so there's only a couple of spots he can be in at that point. Perfectly played out there in the end by Secret. ITB started off that round pretty great, you have to say. They did it really well, and then it kind of just fell apart there as they started approaching towards the site. So good defense being tossed up by Secret. Now headed towards Barbecue and Kitchen. And ITB, again, well, they're only 2 rounds away from picking up a point and basically equaling their score to that extent for Stage 1. But they have been looking better than they were in Stage 1. They're actually working together. They are a united front to some extent. And they're having these entry kills, which is something we discussed before as well, that they kind of struggled with that whole factor. Kento's doing a great job at that.
Still this brawl back and forth, 5-4, and ITB, you know, they sort of pulled it back from obviously 2-0 at the very beginning of the game, but then, as I said, that sort of final round, and it could have, based on one little missed moment, be 6-3 right now, if that little fight onto the plant, on towards the karaoke side, had been stopped when it was. But it's not. ITB still have that little lifeline that they can cling onto here. Secret, pretty sharp on their attacks, and you know, they sort of come over to the defense with a little bit of a shaky moments, but they're happy to lean into the gunfights. They're happy to lean into some of these approaches and see and test what was really worked and tested upon.
What are they gonna do? EMP coming out soon, at least. Want to be opening up that geisha wall just to put that pressure down right away, but as you can see, it's a Cade, and that means that that clock could be quite literally anywhere up on that wall. The target and the range of the EMP is not as big as you might hope, so you need to be very certain of where it is, and that first one failed, so the second one goes higher, but also fails, and that means that that wall will stay shut.
Yeah, they threw the first one with the anticipation. It was maybe a charge at the bottom. It wasn't. Then the second one, I mean, from that angle, from that distance, obviously their impact, but as you can see, as gestured, it is up there high in the top corner, which is not as easy to get your impact EMP on, and you have to suddenly fall your way back. There's more than one way to get that wall open. None of them are quick. That's always the thing about Skyscraper, is to get to, you know, from A to B, it's very different to other maps. There's a lot of little shoebox rooms. You have to cut and clear your way through this. Watching from above, Kendrew does get the first kill, falls. As the flashes come through, they're already pushing right onto site, but with that blow, watch from above, I believe they're able to cut off the approach. And it doesn't matter how close you get with the diffuser, you can't quite make it through, and you know you're being watched. The route back through is a tricky one. Kendrew is going to try and see if he can slip his way once again via Sushi Bar towards maybe the close plant corner. You have Noah watching a bit, but they're so unsure.
If Kanto is out there on the cover, so he's going to be able to provide at least something if the plan does go down, but you're just so uncertain of whoever is out on the top, and as you lose Kanto as well, Kendrew is going for the plant. 45 seconds soon to be on the clock in a 3v3 post-plant situation out here. This is a very important round for ITB. They need to win this, as Gribber just jumps down from the top, gets a kill, brings it back to a 2-on-2.
Huge from the top rope there from Groovy. The 2 versus 1. Noah's trying to hold on as best as they can. They're caught out on the back though. Miracle slams into them. They're trying to find the diffuser. Where is it? There it is. Tucked in one of those little easy corners. It's not the most out there place, and it means Secret can pick it up, and they push themselves onto map point. They are only 1 round away from securing themselves 3 points.
A point is gained, but 2 more still to be taken. And that goes for both these teams. 2 points to play for over these next couple of rounds. Team Secret, they did that well. The retake was on point. And as I mentioned during the previous cast of Skyscraper as well, Emmy, the top floor is oh so important for that side. If you want to attack Barbecue, you need to make sure you have that top floor under control, because the verticality is going to be the bane of your existence. Not quite for the actual plant here. Did drop the diffuser initially. The plant still able to go down, but the retake just very difficult to hold in that situation, as we just saw. Secret with that find themselves with a point now, but it could have already been 3.
It could have, and that's that awareness, that's that sort of drive through that they need to, I guess, hold on to, that they've done it before, they've been able to find themselves in these situations before and get it cemented by the end of it. But it's tricky. You're on your attacks on Skyscraper. It's not easy for anyone. You used your timeout many, many moons and rounds ago.
Yeah, and then that basically leaves you in the spot where you have to perform. There's no more second chances for ITB. Yes, on average, they've already got way more rounds than they did in previous matches in stage 1. But you want more. You want those points. You need to convert it for a major position in the end. And SI as well, because that's, of course, what it all comes down to in the end of the year. 6 Invitational is what it's for.
Oh, and I mean, it's the dream of everyone, is to get those points. There's not many opportunities to get those points as well. And from here on, we'll see if they can just push themselves one step closer towards it. It's now droning out, looking in, trying to find the route through. Quite get it locked down with the clash. They are holding out hope at this point to try and just get one of those lucky breaks and push them on.
Doors being opened up, drones being put in position. A lot of stress right now in ITB. They want to start this one off strong. It's showtime for them. They need to show what they got. Skento, oh, is that a missed drone? He hears something and he's checking for it, finds it eventually. So Savage has been seen. It's going to be one Joker out of the board as Kento takes him down as well. Fully blinded by the fear factor as well.
I mean, the fear factor, as I said, we haven't really seen it as the biggest impactor. That's maybe the first kill. I think we've sort of got the taste through of it, but even then it's gone against them in that situation. It is a sort of slow, it's a stop, but it's something that is often quickly dealt with, because usually a team is cautious on a door that it's put towards and they can get themselves just a second bit of cover. It will stay active if there are activated ones out there at that point. Miracle takes a lot of damage, I'm going to assume, from one of the grenades in the pockets that's no longer in the pockets of Azza. Yep. As they're trying to find this fight, they're just holding on towards the VIP stairs. They're, again, hoping to get that bit of width on a player. ITB, they have the first step in, but you look at the timer, you look at the fact that they still got to try and get themselves and get this kit down. There's only pocketfuls of seconds left to smash the breakthrough. Caught instantly out by Miracle. Pops down and takes the reins with the SMG, but gets dropped in response. Groovy gets one more. Groovy gets one more. There's a clash still on the board. It's a 4 versus 1. Yonka is all that is left at this point, but not for very long. Secret. And he takes some joy of this. The first game, 3 points that are fully theirs.
And as we said, you gotta be paying attention to that Brazilian factor they have. They were here to instantly take that victory. The attack managed to find some success there. 3 rounds. And with that, they find that victory. They find the 3 points and a great start in their groups.
As he plays behind one of the remaining Kiva barricades to be a big nitro and it's massive!
Trying to get ahead of it, spots it moving down the stairs, and there it goes for VP. The 3 go for VP!
Everything falls to 1v2 here. They're both focused on him. No! Better!
We are now down to our Elite 8.
Surely not resets. He's making the 1v4 look so winnable. There's no way. Resets to ace to 1v4. Esk is trapped in a corner.
Vanessa can collect one, a second, a third.
Oh, he's just insane.
Something feels a little bit different today. It's Championship Sunday! 24 teams made the trip, 2 remain.
The defense, there comes 1 kill and 2. It looks like there's one left standing. It's Vods against his old team. It could not be any more bittersweet.
Are they going to be able to close this out here and now?
Into the breach were able to win some rounds, but it wasn't enough to defeat Secret today, who do take the 3 points and now set themselves at the top of the group because there haven't been any other matches in this group so far. But it started out as a pretty close game. And now looking at the new organization, Into the Breach, how did they start the game?
They started out looking basically as agile as a dead body. They were just sitting still in corners. Not that it was corners, but they had these areas basically designated to themselves, and then they were going to set up crossfires to play off each other. But there was no feeling out of their opponent. They just kept staying in these areas until it was too late, and they were dead by their own misplaying. So it looked really, really rough. And then Counter comes in with the ace, which turns things around. But the defense side, I mean, they should technically maybe have been on a 4-2 deficit, or maybe a 5-1 even on Skyscraper defense. That's not good.
Yeah, I think, you know, that's the big thing that we pulled out from that game, was just how static ITB were playing in terms of their defenses. I thought Secret attacked Skyscraper pretty magnificently, like you say, probably strategically 4-2 up. But, you know, 3-3 half, then went on to do their defenses and, you know, get the job done. And I do want to give a shout out to Miracle, because he came out with some big rounds. He had quite a quiet start. Both of the Brazilian players actually had a quiet start for Secret. I know Falls actually had a pretty bad game overall, but Miracle really stepped it up. You know, first EUL game, 15-4. You can't really ask for a much better debut from him, really.
Especially when you're a support player, right? Like, you come from the backline and you drop those numbers. That's very impressive.
And that's the one thing that, you know, we didn't know. I think going into this game, our big thing was we don't know how Secret are going to play. We don't know how ITB are going to play, because they've both made material changes to their team. Our suspicions were confirmed that both Brazilians kind of slotted into that flex support line, and just allowed Savage and Upo and Grubby to go off and be the front line for Secret. It looks like they've got a very nice balance to that team now.
It looked like a much more complete unit than what we've ever seen Team Secret be. And it's nice to see that they have taken that step. But is that up to Secret how well they played, or is it because ITB's played poorly? I think we will have to judge Secret after the next game.
Indeed. But, I mean, we were looking at the new players that did what they were doing, and Miracle definitely did well with that, but also for the existing players on the team. Kento finally did what you were asking him for.
Yeah, Kento did what I was asking him for, but at the same time, nobody else really showed up for the day. I mean, brutally honest, like, no one needs to step up massively, because we saw another heartbreaking performance from him, and, like, we're looking at, he maybe has 1 or 2, 3 games left of his career at this point if he doesn't step up. Because, no, I'm brutally honest, because how many chances will you have in EUL when you completely mess up stage 1 and then you come into stage 2? If he keeps this up, I'm telling him just honestly, he needs to step up if he wants to continue playing, because teams don't give him a chance if he performs this poorly and then keeps on doing so. He needs to step up.
Indeed, but Kento getting 14 kills, so that's probably a stat line that you have prepared for this
15,
as well?
Yeah, I'm going to go a little bit nicer than Fabian. I think Kanto is probably safe. 18 kills he got in all of Stage 1. He got 15 today, so he absolutely stepped up. That's the Kanto that we know and love. I think the one thing for Kanto, and we saw it through his time with Rogue/Koi, was the consistency. You know, in Berlin when he was on fire, then he dropped off Stage 3, had an OKSI, dropped off Stage 1. So for Kanto, we're looking at him maintaining that consistency. We know he's got the quality. It was a massive ace today. He's played very well. He does need that team and, you know, like you say, Noah, to step up around him as well if ITB are going to have any success.
In their defense, they did look better than they did before, but wasn't that big of a difference as I expected them to be.
Secret winning 3 rounds on attack, though, on a map like Skyscraper. That's pretty good to start out your first half.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, like I say, I think Secret looks much more complete. Skyscraper is a map that they are very comfortable on. It was very clear that their game plan was, we'll go to Sky. We know we might not be leading going into the half. They got a 3-3. Excellent. Maybe even should have been a 4-2. Could have even been a 5-1, but they got a 3-3. And it always felt from the point that they got the 3-3 that they were just going to see it out with their defences and how well they could operate on the defence of Skyscraper. They've always been a very good team on that front, and I think we saw that today.
Yeah, I mean, they should have actually won all their defenses, but it was the impact. I can't remember who it was. Missed the player.
Or I think it
was right in front of him. That stuff happens in the heat of the moment. Their attacks were really good. The thing with their attacks is they did very few mistakes and they didn't overextend. If we compare it to the previous game where we watched M&M, they got into their advantages, overextended and threw their advantages. Secret, they didn't do that today. They just kept rolling, taking step by step, and kept just beating down their opponents.
I think that will give them a lot of confidence as well because, you know, Secret have been the team, and for the longest time, even when I was operating in, you know, inside of a U League, Secret for the longest time were the bottom or the second bottom team. And that continued basically until Stage 1 this year. So for them to come out and put in a pretty dominant display, like you say, 1 round lost because somebody saw an impact and didn't see a planter. 1 round lost because somebody's had a life round and got an ace. Realistically, they've managed this game super well, and it'll give them a lot of confidence going into the, you know, remaining 3 games.
We can see how well their confidence is lining up so far because we do have an interview ready for you with Savage from the side of Secret. How confident are you feeling, Savage?
Hello. It's always good to be back. Missing a lot of the competition, but it's good. It started again, and we started off well, which I'm proud. Played well today.
Good to hear. How are things with the new guys on the team? Are you having fun? Is it feeling good right now?
Yeah. They are really, you know, Brazilian people are really, really close people, I guess, really people that you can always get along really well. And obviously, me and Tris are living with them, and it's a new experience for everyone. Well, not everyone, me especially, but yeah, definitely getting along really well and really good personalities and even better in the game. So just really easy to get along with.
Sounds good. Well, you mentioned that you're living together. Does that feel like it adds another level of teamwork together?
Yeah, definitely. Like you get to know people like personally, and like just makes everything else easier once you know people and you know how they react and how they work and what they like, what they don't like. Like stuff in game becomes like a lot easier to deal with.
All right, you started today with 3 rounds on attack on a map like Skyscraper. That must be feeling really good.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting that. You know, it's a defense style map, so whatever we were going to take from attacks, I was like, okay, that works. But getting 3 attacks, you know, was definitely really good for us. Could have finished up a few more attacks, I think, but at the end of the day, it's the game.
All right, we discussed a bit of expectations for Secret in the pre-show. What are your own expectations for Secret? Do you think a major is possible, or are there steps in between that you need to reach first?
No, we are definitely aiming for the major. And I think, I don't know, people still see us as a bottom 2 team, like from EU, but like we qualified to the Invitational, like winning against good teams. We finished top 5 last season. So, you know, if people still see us as underdogs, you know, we'll take that. It's always good to be underdogs, no pressure on you. But, you know, in our heads, we are not underdogs anymore. We're going to qualify for the major, and we're just here to play. Okay, this sounds confident for sure. Is there anything you want to say to the fans to close it off? Thanks a lot for the support, for the few ones that we have. Hopefully, we'll give you some good results this season, so you can be happy. And also, thanks for buying the skin, and keep buying the skin. All right, very nice. Thank you so much for your time. I hope you have a great rest of your evening, and we hope to see you tomorrow again. Thank you. See you. See you. Confidence really is at an all-time high, it feels like.
Did he just say that they're going to go to the major?
Yeah, you said that.
Okay, Savage, I'm holding you to that. I'm holding you to that. Because, you know, he might say people and the community are thinking Secret are a bottom 2 team. Because we've sat here and said, hey, Secret could be doing very well in this group. He said they're going to the major. We're going to hold him to that.
I mean, every team says they're going to go to the major. That's just how it works. You have to have the confidence to at least pretend that you're going to go. With Secret, I couldn't tell you just yet. I think I need 1 or 2 more play days to judge them. But as it looked today, they looked like a very solid team. The basics were there. They played like a team. They played together. And that's what you expect to begin with. And then we had some standout players as well that we just showed up today. And then after that, I think we can just judge them after a few more games. But they looked really good today, and they should be happy with their performance.
They definitely should. I mean, we're halfway through our first day back with Blast R6 Europe League Stage 2. So we do have a little break coming up. But after that, we do have G2 versus BDS. A really, really exciting matchup. So don't go anywhere.